Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen is a coming of age novel and a satire of Gothic novels. It was published after her death in 1817 along with her novel Persuasion, though the title page says 1818. Austen finished writing Northanger Abbey in 1803, making it the first of her novels to be fully completed. The important characters include Catherine Morland, who is a 17-year-old girl who grows up in a countryside with 9 siblings. She is kind, honest, and innocent, but she does not understand how some people can be dishonest or selfish. Her family is neither rich nor poor. The story of the novel is told by an unknown narrator who mostly speaks in the third person. The narrator knows Catherine's thoughts and feelings, but also sometimes comments on the events in the story. Isabella Thorpe is a beautiful and charming young woman who is very ambitious. She becomes friends with Catherine because she mistakenly believes Catherine's family is rich. She wants to marry Catherine's brother James for his money. John Thorpe is Isabella's brother and a friend of James Morland. He is rude, boastful, and cares only about horses, carriages, and money. He is not a good listener and often lies or exaggerates to make himself look better. James Morland is Catherine's older brother. Like her, he is kind and trusting, but he is easily tricked by people who pretend to be his friends. He falls in love with Isabella and does not realize at first that she is only interested in his wealth. Henry Tilney is the second son of General Tilney and works as a parson in a small village. He is kind, smart, and funny. He enjoys teasing Catherine, but always in a playful way. He becomes Catherine's love interest. General Tilney, Henry's father, is a wealthy man who cares a lot about social status and money. He wants his children to marry rich people and does not approve of poor or middle class marriages. He is strict and sometimes harsh towards others. Let's see the summary of the novel. Catherine Morland is a 17-year-old girl who grows up in the countryside as the eldest daughter in a large family. She is plain as a child but becomes prettier as she grows older. She develops a love for novels and fashion. One day, her wealthy neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Allen, invite her to travel with them to the city of Bath, a popular vacation spot. Catherine is excited but disappointed when she realizes that Mrs. Allen does not know many people. Soon, she meets Henry Tilney, a charming young man of 24. She enjoys talking to him and hopes to see him again. Later, Catherine and Mrs. Allen run into an old friend, Mrs. Thorpe, and Catherine quickly becomes friends with Mrs. Thorpe's daughter, Isabella. The Thorpes already know Catherine's brother, James, who attends school with Isabella's brother, John. Catherine and Isabella become inseparable, but Catherine still hopes to see Henry Tilney again. One day, while walking in town, Catherine and Isabella run into their brothers. Catherine is introduced to John Thorpe, but she finds him rude and boastful. That evening at a ball, John asks Catherine to dance and she reluctantly agrees. However, when Henry Tilney arrives and asks her to dance, she is disappointed that she already promised John. During the dance, Catherine keeps looking at Henry and hopes he will ask her again. The next day, Catherine wants to meet Henry's sister, Eleanor Tilney, but instead, John convinces her to go on a carriage ride. During the ride, he makes alarming comments about Catherine's brother's carriage being unsafe, only to take them back later. When they return, Catherine is upset to learn that Mrs. Allen met the Tilneys while she was gone. The Thorpes continue to interfere with Catherine's growing friendship with Tilneys. At another ball, John interrupts when Henry asks Catherine to dance, claiming that she had already promised to dance with him. Catherine refuses and dances with Henry anyway, enjoying herself. Catherine arranges to go on a walk with the Tilneys, but it rains, so she is unsure if they will still meet. John tricks Catherine into another carriage ride by telling her he saw the Tilneys leaving town. However, during the raid, Catherine sees the Tilneys walking in town and realizes that John lied. She is furious but cannot escape the raid. That night at the theatre, Catherine apologizes to Henry for missing their walk. She also notices Henry's father, General Tilney, talking to John and looking at her with interest. The next day, Catherine successfully reschedules her walk with the Tilneys. John, however, takes it upon himself to cancel it without her permission. Catherine runs to the Tilneys to correct the misunderstanding and enjoys a wonderful walk with them. Eleanor Tilney then invites Catherine to dinner. Meanwhile, Isabella tells Catherine that she and James are engaged, but she worries that Catherine's parents will not approve. Catherine is surprised but happy. However, later Isabella seems disappointed when she learns that James does not have as much money as she had hoped. Catherine receives an invitation to visit the Tilneys' home, Northanger Abbey, and is excited to see an old building like those in her favorite novels. Before she leaves Bath, she notices Isabella flirting with Henry's older brother, Captain Frederick Tilney. Despite being engaged to James, Catherine is worried and asks Henry to warn his brother, but he insists that people should take responsibility for their own relationships. On the way to Northanger Abbey, Henry playfully teases Catherine with a spooky story about the old house. She hopes to uncover a mystery there. When she arrives, she imagines that General Tilney might have harmed his wife. One night, she sneaks into Mrs. Tilney's old bedroom to investigate but is caught by Henry. Embarrassed, Catherine realizes her suspicions were foolish. Soon after, Catherine receives a letter from James saying that his engagement to Isabella is over. He hints that Captain Tilney may now be engaged to Isabella, but Henry and Eleanor assure Catherine that their father would not approve of the match since Isabella has no fortune. Catherine is confused because she has heard General Tilney say he does not care about money. Isabella writes to Catherine hoping to fix things with James, but Catherine now sees through her and decides to forget their friendship. Shortly after, General Tilney suddenly leaves for London. When he returns, he unexpectedly orders Catherine to leave Northanger Abbey the next morning. Catherine is shocked and hurt, but keeps her feelings to herself. Catherine returns home where her family is happy to see her. They are angry about how she was treated but advise her to move on. Catherine, however, is heartbroken, though no one realizes she is in love. 3 days later, Henry unexpectedly arrives at Catherine's home and proposes her. He explains that in Bath, John Thorpe had told General Tilney that Catherine was rich, which made him eager for a match between her and Henry. However, later in London, John told the general that Catherine was actually poor, which made him change his mind and throw her out of Northanger Abbey. Henry, refusing to obey his father's wishes, has come to ask for Catherine's hand in marriage. Catherine's parents approve of the match, but the general refuses to give his blessing. However, when Eleanor Tilney marries a wealthy man, the general softens and finally agrees to Henry and Catherine's marriage. In the end, Catherine and Henry are happily married. From the beginning, Northanger Abbey makes it clear that it is a novel describing its main character, Catherine Morland, as an unlikely heroine. In most novels of the 18th and early 19th centuries, heroines were special, either because of their unique personalities or their extraordinary life experiences. But Catherine is just an ordinary young woman. Throughout the novel, Jane Austen makes fun of common storytelling patterns, showing how predictable many novels are. However, she does not suggest that novels are unworthy of being read. She also challenges the usual way romantic relationships are portrayed in books, especially in how Catherine and Henry's love story develops. Austen wrote Northanger Abbey at a time when novels were becoming extremely popular, particularly among women. There was a debate in British society about whether novels were good or bad for readers. Some people believed these books filled women's minds with unrealistic ideas and could lead them to make bad choices in love. Others argued that novels helped readers understand different perspectives and develop kindness. The most popular novels of the time were sentimental and gothic novels Sentimental novels focused on heroines' struggles for love and happiness. Gothic novels used a similar storyline but added dark, mysterious settings, supernatural elements, and historical events. Critics often dismiss these books as silly, worrying that women would become overly emotional and rebellious because of them. On the other hand, supporters of novels believed they encouraged moral growth and empathy. Northanger Abbey strongly supports novels but also acknowledges that they can sometimes lead readers astray. Novels inspire curiosity and encourage people to explore the world, though this can occasionally cause trouble. However, that trouble often leads to growth and self awareness. For example, Catherine's overactive imagination, influenced by Gothic novels, makes her suspect that General Tilney murdered his wife. The book playfully mocks how readers can take novels too seriously. But Catherine's mistake teaches her an important lesson about judging situations wisely. Though her reading leads to embarrassment, it also helps her mature and understand the real world better. By both defending and making fun of novels, Northanger Abbey introduces a new approach to storytelling. Catherine realizes that real life can be just as interesting as the stories in books. This shift in thinking mirrors a larger change in literature, moving away from sentimental novels to the more realistic novels that became popular in the 19th century. Austen predicted this change through her writing. The novel also explores sincerity and deception. Catherine, who grew up in a small village, is honest and trusting, but in Bath she meets people like Isabella Thorpe and General Tilney who pretend to be kind but actually have selfish motives. Isabella befriends Catherine because she thinks her family is wealthy, and General Tilney wants his son to marry Catherine for the same reason. Once they realize she is not rich, they treat her differently. Readers of Austen's time would have recognized their hypocrisy immediately. Though Catherine is sometimes naive, her sincerity is not a flaw. It helps her form true friendships with Henry and Eleanor Tilney, who admire her honesty, kindness, and curiosity. Henry, in particular, grows to love her because of these qualities. By the end of the novel, he chooses to marry her despite his father's objections. Northanger Abbey shows the differences between being naive and being truly honest. While Isabella tries to marry for money, Catherine stays true for herself. In the end, her sincerity leads her to a happy marriage, while Isabella's dishonesty leaves her alone. Through this contrast, the novel highlights the value of honesty and genuine love.